Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another Marvel Crisis Protocol tournament recap. It's been a little while since we did one of these, and that was for a couple reasons. The first one just being that we've been in a bit of a dry spell for tournaments. There haven't been as many in the local area for me, so I haven't been able to go to as many, which has been a little bit of a bummer. The other reason being that the last tournament I did go to, I decided not to make a recap on because it kind of put a lot of things into perspective for me with the team I've been kind of playing around with for a very long time. That the majority of this series has been focused around, and that is my Avengers list. If you've been following the series before, you'll be fairly familiar with the type of list I was running. And I'm honestly very, very down on that list and what it was trying to do in the current meta. As much as I really, really enjoy that playstyle, and it is still probably my favorite list I have played in this game, it just hasn't been doing it for me lately, and I was kind of bummed on it after the last event I went to. So it was pushing me away from that, and between that and the fact that I actually forgot to take pictures of a lot of that one as well. I just wasn't feeling like making a recap about that one. I didn't think there was much that I could really gain out of it. So decided not to, but we are going to be continuing this series. That said, I am taking a slightly different competitive direction. I'm going to be playing around with some other stuff that I've been having a lot more fun with lately, just kind of playing casually and locally, and stuff that, I know is very good, but is also really, really fun to play, so I can still do okay while playing things that I enjoy playing. And we started that out today with a Heroes versus Villains event. At time of recording, it wrapped up about, I don't know, 3.5 hours ago now. And yeah, this is a pretty big day for me, actually. I took 4-0 here. I did get second place due to the tiebreakers. I didn't have as many victory points as Mr. Dave Vino here, who took first place. So congratulations to him. I didn't play against him, obviously, otherwise one of us would have taken a loss. But yeah, congratulations to him. I'm sure he played good games. I didn't get to see any of them. And unfortunately, because of the nature of this event and it being two lists, not very many people have their lists uploaded, but we will go over what we can. But yeah, so this is my first 4-0. For those who haven't been following the series or are newer, that is definitely something I was trying to go for a long time. So I'm really, really happy to have finally achieved that big goal for me, and it's a little bittersweet that it wasn't also a first place, but it is what it is. That's just something else to aim for. It's not actually my first time getting a flawless rating. I did go 3-0 at my first ever event, but I don't really count that because it was a lot of newer players, myself included, so I don't think it was the same level of play that I'm playing at today. But regardless, we're going to go ahead and get into this event. So, yeah, congratulations to Dave Vino for taking first place there. I managed to pull second place, and Matt Smith here pulled third place. And I'll throw his list up on the screen. He's actually one of my opponents, and we will talk about that game. So we'll go into more detail there. But he was running an Avengers and Foes list. He's a longtime Foes player. I've seen him at a lot of events before. And he was just kind of running Avengers with a bunch of good Avengers things like Sam and Hulk and Cable to kind of discourage people from picking his Avengers roster um as the other roster because he's much more comfortable with foes. So there is his Avengers roster if anyone is curious. And his foes roster is right here. Feel free to pause or whatever you need to do to take a look if you are interested. But yeah, so he was coming in third place there with a 3-1 rating. And as I mentioned, I played against him. So spoiler alert, that is where the one loss comes from. But yeah, there were some other good ones here. Reed, who has been on the channel many a time, was also playing. He was playing X-Men and Spider Foes. You'll see a lot of foes in the list here because obviously they're still pretty new. So there was his X-Men, and then here was his foes. Once again, if anyone is interested, Reed does run a pretty good X-Men list, and you will notice everything is fully affiliated. That is one of the kind of restrictions that this event had, was basically you had to have two lists, they had to be fully affiliated, and there was some other weird stuff going on that we might talk about a little bit when we get into the actual rounds. We also had Alex, who's also been on the channel a lot lately, joining us, but unfortunately he did not post his roster here. He was playing Guardians Black Order, so the same thing I played at the previous Heroes and Villains event. I'm assuming his tactics cards and things were slightly different, but for the most part the same idea. But yeah, ended up having 19 players, so pretty solid turnout there. Lots of people, lots of great people. I have played against a lot of these people in the past, and they're all wonderful people to play against. So was very much looking forward to this one, and it did not disappoint. So we're gonna go ahead and jump into the games now. So I'm also realizing I'm a total idiot and didn't talk about my own list. I'm not going to spend too much time talking about it because I was very much so restricted by the by the fully affiliated. So for Guardians, I was well, all of Guardians except one model couldn't make the cut because they do have 11 in their roster. I was between Angela or Power Stone Ronin for that final slot, and I decided on Angela. I like that she's a safe grab, and I haven't really played around much with her, so I was looking forward to trying her out. Spoiler alert, that didn't happen. She never actually hit the table. But yeah, I think there was an argument to be made either way there. But otherwise, not much decision making to make there. Then we go into my Cabal list, and I didn't end up playing the Cabal list very much this event. They did get played at least once. But a lot of just kind of good Cabal stuff. I was running Red Skull 3. I had Ultron in there, of course, because he is incredibly good. I was running Baron Zemo. He should be here somewhere. I'm not seeing him, so apparently I didn't put him here, but I swear he was in the list. Um, so Baron Zemo was there, Killmonger was there, Hood was there. And then I did have this fun idea of like if I get 19 threat and things work out for it, I'll run like Ulik, MODOK, Ultron, and Red Skull and just be like 5 threats go. But yeah, that was kind of the idea here. Am I blind? Because I even see I'm a Baron after all in my cards here, and I just don't see him up here. I don't know what happened. Is this 10 characters? One, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight, nine. Okay, he was the 10th. Um, Going into tactics cards, again, I was just bringing, all of the affiliated cards for Guardians and then just some generic good ones. We had Brace for Impact and Sacrifice with both lists, so those were my cards of choice on both sides of things. Deadly Duo was there, Eyes on the Prize, because Bill is amazing with that. No matter the cost, Escort to Safety. So some pretty generic cards, nothing really jumping out there. On the Cabal side, oh, there was a slight change. Scourge here was here, but Soldat activated. I originally had a Winter Soldier in the list, and I traded him out, and I think I just swapped this in for Escort to Safety. But yeah, some other kind of standard things here, Age of Ultron for Ultron, Usurp the Throne for Killmonger, Sacrifice Brace again, I'm a Baron for Zemo, Dark Reign is just really good. I brought AIM lackeys because why not? It's fun. But yeah, nothing too complex, no major thought process on the card selection for these guys, just kind of here's the good ones. Um, for Crises, my Guardians was running Gamma, Demons, and Infinity. Gamma is kind of a byproduct of my normal Guardians list, which would be running Thanos, and 15 threat Guardians with Thanos is disgusting. Probably should have been reconsidered for this event where I didn't have access to Thanos, but it worked out. Demons, I really like with them. They have obviously a couple of models that are immune to fire, so that's nice. They have Crew of the Milano to get around that as well. And when we're throwing 1,000 guns at our opponent, it's nice when they're on fire. So that was kind of cool. Predicting spider foes, maybe it wouldn't have been as good as as it would have been, if spider foes weren't the new hotness right now. Just because the leadership is pretty solid on demons, being able to remove the incinerate condition after an attack has been resolved, but it still worked out reasonably well. And Infinity Formula, it's just generically good, and I like playing on it, so it's there. For extracts, we had Research Station, again, kind of a byproduct of that Thanos thing, probably should have been removed here. Montesi Formula, similar deal, but not as bad. I can safe grab the middle one and just kind of play from there. And then Alien Ship, because I like Alien Ship. There's not much justification to it. I just enjoy playing on it. Over on the Cabal side, probably some things I should have been running for the Guardian side. I have Deadly Meteors, which is one of my favorite secures lately. I've been really enjoying the kind of slanted E or C, depending how you look at it. Um, Intrusions, which has always been a long time favorite of mine, and again, I was just kind of running things that I like with the Cabal list. There wasn't much thought behind it. And Infinity. And then for extracts, almost the exact same as my Guardians, but Legacy Virus instead of Researcher, which they would have done better on Researcher. So Yeah, I made some choices. But these were the ones that we were living with. So that was the list. And for the games, we have 4 rounds here, and yeah, we're gonna go ahead and jump into them. I got pictures for all of them, and yeah, we'll just kind of jump into things. So my first game was up against Daredevil, and obviously that's not his real name, but that's what he uses on here. So, and he was playing Marvel Knights and um, Criminal Syndicate for his lists here, and we rolled off, and he ended up taking the actually, I think I had the choice. Yeah, I had the choice of which side. I think I won priority in my first 3 games, which gave me the choice of that, but then it gives them the choice of extract or secure. So that was interesting. It was kind of a weird flip of the usual thing, but then I get to pick threat levels. So there was some cool differences from winning prio um, versus a normal game. So I ended up going up against his defenders. That feels weird. I feel like he must have won, but I thought I won priority this game. What does it say? It says he won priority. Cool. Um, so yeah, he picked his defenders, and I do have pictures for this game, but the list is here if anyone is curious. And we'll go ahead and go into the first image here we have. So yeah, this is the end of round one. So first off, we'll start with the list here. I have Red Skull, Hood, Bullseye, Ultron, and Zemo over here. He was running Daredevil, Hulk. This was actually Strange Supreme, not original Strange. He just didn't have the model for it with him, so he was using the old model with the Strange Supreme stat card, and Wonger's back here. So going into round one here, few things happened. I'm trying to remember the exact order of events. Obviously, this will take just a moment. But basically, or he passed, so I had to go first. And I think I just did, I want to say I did Hood. Just walked up to this and flipped it and just kind of chilled there. He did like a nothing activation. He went with Wong, passed a power to Strange Supreme. So I went with Bullseye and just went and stood on this point over here. For what's worth, we're playing on Meteors and Researcher here. Then we went and let's see, he used Strange Supreme to scalpel Hulk up the board pretty much to the middle objective there, and then he just walked Strange, I want to say twice to just go contest the point, which fair. Um, at that point, I think I started going with Red Skull. I moved up, I put a shock on Hulk, which felt really good, and I only did 3 damage to him, so I left him at that kind of perfect number. So that was feeling really, really nice. He ends up going with Daredevil, flipping this point, and then backing up to on top of there. So at that point, I just have Zemo double move and flip it back to my own team, which would end up being really important because these 2 points, spoiler alert, would never flip back the rest of the game. He ends up going with Hulk then. He, I think, punches Red Skull once or maybe even twice, leaves him alive, throws him away, gets him out of the way there, and is flips the middle point, so he's sitting relatively pretty there. I go with Ultron. I blink a little bit of damage into Doctor Strange with Ultron and the grunts, and then I use an Encephalo Beam to walk Hulk away just to kind of slow him down a little bit. And at this point, I've got Strange Supreme on about half health, if I remember correctly. Going into the next round, and the image would take a quick moment to load there. Oh boy, a lot of stuff happened. I'm gonna think about this one for a second. Okay, so order of events is a little hard, but I want to say he started with either Hulk or Strange Supreme. I'm going to lean towards Hulk, and I think he just started trying to go to town on Ultron. He does a number to Ultron. I think he ends up leaving him on 2 health by the end of this round. Not sure how much of that was Hulk off the top of my head, but he does do a chunk of damage to him for sure. And then I think he might have thrown Ultron, or maybe he threw something at him. Not 100% sure. Ultron looks like he's in a slightly different position than he had been last round, so not 100% sure on that one. But Ultron is still alive. That much I know for sure. So I'm pretty sure I actually had Ultron go next, and he, I think, did a bunch of damage to Hulk, and then um, didn't make him. Oh, actually, I tried to finish off Doctor Strange. That's what I did. Was I had the two of them try to finish off Doctor Strange, and he ends up surviving on like one health, which is not exactly what I was looking for. But is what it is. He backs up over to Wong and has Wong, or he falls back, I think, over towards Wong, activates with Wong, goes to heal him. So I charge Zemo in and I manage to take him down. So Strange's activation is denied. And at this point, it's all weapons firing on Hulk. So as you can see, he moved the researcher over here last round. So I have Hood come in, and I think Hood might have actually double walked to go onto that point, but it might have been a single walk and a shot. I'm not 100% sure. Um, he also got stunned by, I think, oh, yeah, that was what it was. I walked over and I attacked Daredevil, who cracked back. So this happened later, because Daredevil just ended up double moving down here to contest this researcher, which I had Zemo sitting on. So he contests the researcher. I walk Bullseye, hit and run Hulk, and then go to contest it there, so I'm not losing it to him. And then, as you can see, I'm very much setting Daredevil up for a good spender here. Red Skull ends up putting a little bit more damage into Hulk. I think we put him up to about 8 damage or so this round. And then I just scalpel him away because I don't want him anywhere near the middle if I can avoid it, with Red Skull's version of scalpel. So he gets sent over there. He's still shocked. He's still taking a bunch of damage. And Daredevil did reasonably solid things in the middle here, but nothing too crazy if I remember. So overall, still looking pretty good for me. I've managed to take the researcher this time and score some of these. Zemo might have actually ended up getting dropped. I don't remember, but I feel like I didn't actually get the researcher and we just tied it this round. Could be wrong about that. I don't remember what the exact score was, but still pretty decent round overall here. Going into the next round, this was a good one for him, if I remember correctly. He ends up dazing a few of my models. If he wasn't dazed the previous round, this is the round that I believe Zemo goes down, Hood goes down, and I want to say Bullseye goes down, all of which I believe were done by a combination of Hulk and Strange. Somehow Ultron actually ends up surviving this round on one health, and the one damage he did take was actually from a critical done by using Red Skull's leadership. So that's a thing, I guess. I don't know. But you will notice a lack of Daredevil. Daredevil has a really good spender at one point here, and then I think Red Skull just kind of takes him down. Um, yeah, that checks out to me. I think Red Skull basically like bounces a spender between him and Hulk, like starts with Hulk and bounces it into Daredevil, takes out Daredevil, does a number to Hulk. We have him pretty low at this point. Um, and he is still shocked. It just got left over here. Most of the rest of my team was down though, so I did end up putting a little bit of damage into Strange, and otherwise everything pretty much stayed the same. I actually think Bullseye was alive here on like one health because again, I'm pretty sure we tied the researcher this round. So again, I just score those 2-1, and I'm just kind of holding that very slow and steady lead at this point. So even though he'd scored up the first round by scoring the researcher, I've denied it every round since and scored slightly more points, which is why this one earlier was so important. But yeah, I put a number into Hulk here. He definitely took a good swing at me this turn, but taking Daredevil off the board was a big deal, and I was feeling relatively confident going into the next round. So going into the next round here, um, at the end of the last round, he had played, I want to say, patch up on his Hulk, so he'd put him up to 8 health remaining, and I knew I needed to take that model out if I wanted to win the game. So as you can see, I did a pretty good job this round. Basically, what I did was Hood was in his like possessed mode. Um, I think he'd been attacked by like Daredevil once or twice, so I activated with Hood. I was trying to figure out who was the best for it because Ultron had like no power, and Red Skull could only have spendered once, so wasn't loving either of them really for it. And I felt like Hood might have had the best odds under Dark Reign. I was also thinking Zemo, but he has a relatively low floor compared to some of the other models just because of how many dice he throws, even though they're likely to almost always be hits. So we go with Hood. We play Dark Reign. I think Bullseye paid for it on Hulk, and Hood barely manages to take Hulk down. He does a spender into him, which only does a couple of damage, but we manage to blast 2 damage at Strange as well with that. And then we just do a rapid fire pistol and perfectly take out Hulk, which was a big deal. Them being Mystic definitely mattered. He couldn't reroll any of his things on them, so that was really, really nice. And Hulk being off the board was kind of the end of the game right there. At that point, Strange tried. I think he took out Bullseye and maybe did some damage to one of these other guys. Might have actually dropped Ultron, but then I think Zemo just finished him off. And then he was just left with Wong. I think I used a second attack off of Zemo to daze Wong as well. So that was pretty much the game right there. I'll see if I have another picture for it, but I think that was it. So that was my first game. It was a good game, but it was a matchup that I'd played a few times, so I was pretty reasonably confident going into it just because I'd done it before, but definitely could have gone a lot worse if I hadn't taken down Hulk. So something that I need to kind of watch out for is that, it's been a while since I've kind of played the Killing Hulk game, and definitely something I need to get used to doing again if I'm not going to be the one playing Hulk. Going into the second game, I was up against Rob. I've played against Rob before a few times, including a few entries on this series, so I know he's a very, very good player, and I definitely have to watch out for him. He ended up playing Cabal, and I was playing Guardians. We both had Cabal in our options, and I think I won Prio, so I got the choice here. Yeah, that checks out here. We were playing on Alien Ship and Demons Downtown, and I'll see real quick if he's posted a list that I can share with all of you guys. And it looks like he has, so he was playing Wakanda or Cabal, and if you guys are curious, he is a very, very good player, so definitely worth taking a look at what he's doing. So there was his Cabal list. I'll leave that on the screen for a moment if you want to pause and take a look, and then we'll scroll down to the Wakandan one here, where it looks like he only had 9 characters. I don't know. But this was his, oh, I guess because it's fully affiliated, you can only do so much. So that was his Wakandan list, and yeah, we'll go ahead and jump into the pictures. All right, so once again, we're looking at the end of round one. Oops. And as you can see, we were playing on the demons there. I was running Guardians, and I had Star-Lord, Rocket and Groot, Drax up at the front here, Gamora right there, and Beta Ray down here. He was playing Cabal, so he had Red Skull, Master of the World right there, Ultron and his Ultron drones, Killmonger, Baron Zemo, and Mystique. So I went for the Eyes of the Prize play, picked up this thing, backed up with him. He had Mystique. I didn't want to risk much there. Um, don't remember if it was the first thing he did, but I know he did then move Mystique over here and pick up the thing. I tried to move in Plinker with Star-Lord, couldn't quite get in range, so I moved over here. It was one of those, like, if he had balanced properly on the top of this truck here, he would have been totally fine, but unfortunately he wouldn't stay, so he wasn't able to make the attack. He had to stop in the bed here, and he just moved over here instead. Got out of range 4, so she wouldn't be able to punish him too hard. I think at this point he might have passed because he wanted to force me to come to him, which was smart. So I played as passively as I could. I had Groot kind of come up here and not contest the point because my plan was to have Rocket contest the point, and then I think he just kind of like moved Killmonger over here and just sat him there. Didn't want to light him on fire, which made sense, but there were no objectives for him to go to, so he didn't bother. At this point, with a few less things in danger of killing me, I decided to risk it with Drax, and I had Drax double move up to the middle and um, pick up a core. Now, I didn't want to do this with Rocket because I figured if he's going to be able to Encephalo Beam Rocket will just die, whereas Drax has a chance to survive. So I definitely stand by that decision, even though the initial attack would have went at Groot, it still probably would have given him the Encephalo Beam. So Drax was probably the right call there, I think. But sure enough, he goes with Ultron. He chooses not to attack with the grunts, and he just double moves them forward. And he takes a shot at Drax with Ultron. Gains the 1 power he needs. Actually, he gains 2 power, but he did use the leadership, so it ends up really just being 1 to uh, use the Encephalo Beam and drag me forward, which is not great for him. He then goes with Red Skull. I don't remember what I did here. I think I might have just double moved Rocket up to contest the middle at this point. I was saving Gamora for last, I know that much. Um, yeah, Oh no, I remember what I did here. This point, I played Lovable Misfits, and I played it on Drax, Gamora, and Rocket. I was hoping Drax was going to get something that actually might have mattered up here. Unfortunately, not really. He got the hit, so it did one damage to Red Skull, who was the only model up here contesting or holding objectives. So that was okay, but both of these models got a small advance, so they both moved up the board a little bit, and that was really, really big because then Rocket, I think, was actually able to lob a shot here into Red Skull. I think I did something like 2 or 3 damage. I know it wasn't insignificant. It was definitely a fairly meaningful amount of damage. So that was nice to have. Then he ends up going with between Zemo and Red Skull. You can tell I probably got some of the turn order wrong here because of it was my turn and Red Skull hadn't gone yet. But between the two of them, they do take down Drax, and Drax drops his objective, which Zemo takes up because Zemo was the last one to do it. He did need to play I'm a Baron because he actually deployed him like over here, so he had to move and then charge. Um, but Zemo picks it up, which is not great for me, but not the end of the world because I have the middle point. But then Gamora, in a single long move, is able to get from somewhere about here to about here. It was kind of insane. Oh, it was actually like here, just within two of them. She makes an attack. She leaves him on 2 health, but she gains a bunch of power. So she takes a pounce, drops him, picks up his objective, and suddenly this is looking like a really strong start. I did lose Drax, but he also lost a Zemo, so certainly a strong start for the Guardians here. All right, so as you can see, a lot of things happened between rounds here, and I'm going to struggle a little bit to go over all of them. So he starts things out with, I want to say, either Ultron or Zemo. Um, and I'm pretty sure he dazed Gamora before she got to activate here. That feels like it was fairly important to his turn working the way it needed to, so I'm going to say that's probably what happened. So he had Red Skull go, and what Red Skull did was he played his card. I forget what it's called, but it lets him put conditions on other characters, and he put Incinerate on both Gamora and Drax, who, as you can see, is standing so still he is invisible. Um, Ends up killing Drax, I think just with Red Skull's activation, and maybe left Gamora alive at this point. I'm not 100% sure. Maybe Gamora just whiffed her dice rolls. I feel like I would have remembered if he spiked hard enough to one-shot both of them. So maybe I'm missing something there. But between these two models, those two models went down. Um, and then he ends up trying to have Killmonger charge over into, um, at the time, I want to say Star-Lord. Yeah, Star-Lord was like here. And I was able to. I'd already shot him with something, probably Rocket. I think Rocket on his turn, like put a bunch of damage into Killmonger. Um, then he charges over here and triggers booby traps, which I needed 2 successes to actually stop his activation, and I got it, which was crazy. It was one of those things where I felt kind of bad because it felt like it was a bit of a gotcha. But on the other hand, I had actually genuinely forgot I had it until he was like about to roll the dice, and I was like, wait, I think I can do a thing here. So felt a little bad about that, but it was also one of those like I kind of got you. I would have got you myself on that one had it been the other way around. So fair enough, I guess. But that was a big deal because he basically had a 0 turn with him. Mystique ends up like moving over here to try and set up a positioning for later. I think she might have taken a shot at someone as well, but I think both of these models were still down here at this point in time. Groot starts plinking some damage into the drones just because he can. And these guys, I don't know why Beta Ray is all the way over here all of a sudden. I don't remember what led to this, but I think I was just trying to. At one point, I know I do try a electric attack on Ultron. I wanted to put the shock on him, and I just couldn't get it. But I also only did like 1 damage, so I was kind of like, okay, well, at least I didn't power him up. Star-Lord is over here because he ends up, I think, double moving to pick up a core that was dropped by. Doesn't make sense to be Gamora's. Gamora, I think, would have dropped hers and maybe Red Skull picked it up. And then I think this was the round I dropped Red Skull because I had left him really low the previous round. So maybe that's the core that Star-Lord was picking up. I know by the end of this turn, Star-Lord has one, which is what's important. And I think I put a little bit of damage into Mystique in the process because I think I did like a hit and run to get there. So it was like a move, hit and run, and then pick up the thing. So a little bit of damage across the board. I've dropped Red Skull, I dropped Killmonger. Pretty good still. I think I was still holding the scoring lead here at this point in time. And we go into the next round, which will load. Here we go. Um, Groot ends up going down. I think he basically goes all Ultron drones fire on this man, takes him down, which yeah, that's kind of to be expected when he's taking that many energy attacks. Gamora ends up taking out Killmonger. She like moves over here, stabs him, pounces at him, takes him down. Up here, I want to say Mystique actually dazed Bill, but then gets taken down by Star-Lord, if I remember correctly, who also, I think, drops by Red Skull and then puts the core over here. That sounds about right. So, like, everyone here is dazed. Red Skull is just chilling. And then I think Rocket just puts some damage on Red Skull because at this point I still didn't want to touch Ultron unless I had to. Now, the next round is where things get kind of stupid. So you saw Red Skull was back here at the end of the last round, and what I did was I started things out with Groot actually, and I just spendered Ultron to throw him at Red Skull. He might have had Prio, and that might be why oh, okay. If he had Prio, he didn't do all that much with it. Um, but I Spender Ultron, which ends up doing the perfect amount of damage, including the throw, to take Ultron down, but the throw's before damage, so it gets to happen anyways. And I threw him at Red Skull, which also took Red Skull off the board after Rocket had already done, I think, 3 or 4 damage to him the round prior. So at this point, he's down. He goes with Mystique. I think he tries to kill Bill, leaves him alive on like 1 or 2 health. So Bill just takes his core and runs to the corner of the map where he can just score me a point. And because we're getting later rounds of the game here, at this point, I'm just trying to make it harder for him to catch up. I don't even care if Bill's core explodes and kills him. This is fine. Gamora, similarly, she just kind of runs to my back point because she's also hurting at this point. I don't remember who attacked her, but she definitely taken some damage. And Star-Lord just kind of repositions himself closer to things. I think he had to do like a hit and run somewhere in there to take out Mystique, because between Bill and Star-Lord, Mystique died this round. Um, Really, really good round. At this point, the game was basically over. I don't know if we bothered to take another picture or not. We'll take a quick peek there. We did. So this would have been the final game state of basically we mostly just talked it through. We didn't bother actually playing the round. But you know, he I think might have rolled out his Ultron turn, didn't manage to kill anything, so we just kind of were like, okay, well, Gamora goes picks up the extra core, Bill double walks here, Star-Lord gets down here. Don't ask me why these are so misaligned. I don't know what happened. Groot walks up to this one, and Rocket exists. So I end up scoring the board here, and that was that round. So really good game. Rob is a great opponent. I love playing against him. It's always a good time, and yeah, it was a good game. It definitely got some nice spikes near the end that really did big things. Like Groot pretty much one-shotting Ultron from almost full health was kind of insane. So stuff like that was really nice. But yeah, really good game, and yeah, it was 2-0. So at this point, I was pretty happy no matter how things went. So my third game of the day was up against Shane. Now Shane is another opponent who I've played against a couple times in the past, and he has soundly whooped me every game so far. So as you can see, this time I did manage to take a win, which felt very good. But he is an amazing player, so definitely a hard-fought game there. He was bringing out some Brotherhood today, and I was bringing out some Guardians. We were playing on Montesi and Gamma, and I won the priority. And his other option was Asgard, but I wasn't as confident with my Cabal list, so I was kind of like, okay, I know you're probably more confident with your Brotherhood, but I'm more confident with my Guardians, and I don't want to be playing something I'm not as certain of into into him. So I was like, yeah, I'm definitely going to take Guardians here. But this was his list for anyone interested. There was his Asgard half, and there is his Brotherhood half. So that's all there for you guys if you are interested. But yeah, we're going to go ahead and get into the images and things. Alrighty, so this was the end of round one, and this was a very weird round one. So, first of all, for the lists, he is playing Magneto, Sabretooth, Apex Predator, Juggernaut, and Mystique. I was playing Star Lord, Rocket and Groot, Nebula, Beta Ray, and Gamora. So, I have priority here, and pretty sure the extract was Montesi. So what I did was I had Bill do the eyes on the prize grab and just back up to home point here. I didn't want to give him anything easy to deception, so I made sure he was also within two of one of my allies on the deployment line. At this point, I think he just moved Mystique onto the car and maybe picked up a book with her. Yeah, that sounds right. Picked up a book with her and kept her contesting that back point. Fair enough. At this point, I think I decided to move Groot up here. He was just contesting the point, and I figured he probably wasn't likely to be able to attack anything. He didn't want to go with Magneto or Juggernaut yet, so he went with Sabretooth, and he just double moved him to contest the middle. So at this point, I figured it was open season. So we go with, I want to say Rocket was the next one, so we move up Rocket right behind Groot here and we blast him. We do something like 2 damage, so yeah, not too bad. I'll take it. There was a winging it involved there. And then he's realizing I'm not giving him anything, so I think he actually passed that one. I go with Nebula, and we do another, I think, 2 more damage with Nebula's attack there. So really starting to chip away at him. He's got 7 health on the front side, and I know I want to flip him as quickly as I can because he's probably one of the softer targets here. Then he goes ahead and moves Juggernaut just to about here. Unfortunately, I think at this point he's realized that Juggernaut is not getting anything, and I am just giving him the middle point. So he moves Juggernaut there, and I decide to move Star-Lord up here, and I take another blast at Sabretooth, and I end up dropping him down to 1 health remaining, which felt pretty nice. So yeah, I can't complain about that. All 3 of them together, bringing him down to 1 left, is a pretty solid start. He, at this point, realizes that he forgot to bring Asteroid M this game, which was kind of a big deal because Magneto would have actually been able to have a really impactful first turn otherwise. But instead, he just double moves him up. He was kind of like, well, if you want to attack Magneto, you can give him a bunch of power. I moved Gamora up just to the edge of range 2 on Juggernaut. It was a super tight measurement, but we're pretty sure it was good. And I just make an attack into Juggernaut because at this point I'm kind of okay with leaving Sabretooth as an easy days for the next round. So I just make a 6 dicer and I do something like 3 or 4 damage, which feels pretty good. It gives her some nice power for the next round as well. So we're off to a pretty strong start. We're playing even on the points game, but I feel like I have a pretty solid attrition lead going into the next round. And yeah, I was feeling pretty good about this part. All right, so going into round two, as you can see, a lot of stuff has happened here. Oh boy, where do I even begin on this? He goes with Sabretooth first, and he sends him down here. I think he does like, does he have an attack with a place? Because that would explain how he got down here. I think he does something to Nebula, does like a damage or 2 to her, and places over here. Maybe that, or he just walked, but I feel like it's more likely that he did an attack with a place. I'm not super familiar with Sabretooth. And then he makes an attack into Star-Lord, which is why he's bleeding here, but he doesn't manage to kill him either. So he ends up leaving him there on 1 health. Fair enough. I think I went with Gamora next while she had a chance. I've tried to put a bunch of damage into Juggernaut, and I succeeded. I left him on 1 health. So that felt pretty good. At that point, I think he goes with Magneto, and I'm pretty sure that is how Gamora got dazed here. So that was a thing. But fair enough. I think I started trying to finish off Juggernaut, so I end up like moving Groot over here. I put a root on Mr. Magneto because I know he hates that, and I just punch him in the face, and I maybe do 1 or 2 damage to him. It wasn't anything huge, but I know there was something. Rocket also moves up here and takes a shot over at Juggernaut, but unfortunately can't push through that 1 damage that he needs. Star-Lord finishes off Sabretooth, and at this point I know I'm kind of going out of order because I don't remember the exact sequencing here, but Star-Lord finishes off Sabretooth. Mystique at some point he decides is just gonna chill back here. I don't think she does much this game. She might have fired off some shots at Beta Ray, maybe, but I don't think Beta Ray ended up going down this round, so that would be a thing. Beta Ray ends up coming over here, and I think just trying to punch Magneto, or no, he tries to do a Summon the Storm on Juggernaut and also fails to kill him, but I think gives him the shock because I think he was shocked at this point, so that was kind of nice. And then this was a construct, by the way, that he put up that was touching like most of my guys, which is part of why I started spreading them out like this. Nebula moves up and I think does a chunk of damage to Mystique here. I think maybe 2 or 3 damage to Mystique with just a pistol shot. Because at this point, Mystique is his objective carrier, and I'd like to deal with that. So at the end of this round, we end up tying the middle point, and I managed to still have the lead on the books. So I do start to take the point lead here, which is nice, but still a lot of game to be played. So going into the next round here, more big things happen, and believe it or not, Juggernaut survives this round as well. And as you can see, a lot of stuff goes down. So Gamora ends up leaving the table, and on her way out, I don't think she did. Oh, she ends up taking down Magneto before she goes. Yeah, she dazes Magneto, but Juggernaut then comes, or Sabretooth then comes in and takes her out. Um, Magneto, I don't think had a crazy turn, but does end up getting dazed. Um, Juggernaut takes down Beta Ray, I believe, this round, or maybe just does a bunch of damage to him, but I know I failed to take him down in return. Magneto, I think, might have actually been what killed Rocket there. And then Groot just kind of like moved back up. He got Do You Know Who I Am way over here. Or no, it wasn't Do You Know Who I Am. It was it was a medium character throw from Sabretooth. That was what it was. He got thrown over here, so he ends up like walking back up, rooting Sabretooth and throwing a 5 dicer at him, which he survives and takes like 1 or 2 damage, kind of to be expected. Rocket, I think, died pretty trivially after that because he made an attack into him after downing Gamora with like a pounce. Um, Nebula, I think he got to strike first over here, and Mystique just took out Nebula, so Mystique's still sitting pretty okay over there. And Star-Lord, I think, just blinked some blaster shots at Mr. Sabretooth, doing some damage to him. So again, I'm teeing things up. These 3 models are not looking great, but Ultron is, or not Ultron, the Red Cape's throwing me off. Magneto is being flipped this round, so he'll be scary next round, but for now we had him out of the equation. Once again, I think we like scored even or maybe slightly in my favor again. I know. Oh, actually, maybe this was the round he scored up because my book carriers were Rocket, who he would have picked up with Juggernaut, and Bill, who I think he might have. No, he must not have dropped Bill yet because otherwise there would be a book on the ground somewhere. So he starts to kind of push the score back a little bit towards him here, but I don't think it was too huge. So we go back into the next round, and as you can see, I was able to take Magneto off the table, so I'm pretty sure I actually opened up with Gamora on a Galaxy's Greatest, and basically just double spendered Magneto. I think he like moved in first to contest the middle point or something like that, because she had to be within range 3 to be able to do that, so I don't remember exactly how that happened, but she ends up taking him down with a maybe someone else helped. Someone else did a couple damage to him first. Probably Star-Lord, who you can see did get dazed this round by Sabretooth, who is still alive. I do burn exceptional this round. He ends up using it and is alive on like 2 or 3 health after that. So definitely relevant there. Um, and still rooted, which was doing a lot of work. But as you can see, he was also able to get rid of Rocket. At this point, I'm pretty sure Juggernaut is still alive on 1 health, which is kind of insane. We have Bill and Mystique fighting it out over here, and I'm pretty sure Bill actually got dazed this round, and maybe this is where Juggernaut picked up a thing. I think Magneto had one last round, so maybe I don't know exactly what happened because I swear there was a turn where Magneto scored one, but um, either way, Bill was not having a great time over here. Juggernaut was still somehow doing mostly okay. Sabretooth was teed up real good, and we had Magneto off the board, but things were starting to look a little grim for my number of models remaining and their remaining health pools. Star-Lord had been flipped this round, so we were looking a little tight, but we were keeping up okay on the score. This was a pretty good scoring turn for him. He ends up scoring one, two, three, four, I think, this round. Well, I get like maybe two. Two sounds about right, but he starts to take the lead there, which is definitely hurting. So going into the next round, we had a lot of work to do, but a lot of his models were also looking pretty teed up, so we were reasonably confident in our ability to do so. And wow, this board looks wild. So okay, I think I missed something because the next picture is apparently I didn't miss something. I must have dropped Juggernaut the round before then because uh Juggernaut is off the table in this image, obviously. So I think I did drop him the round before. Um Maybe I dropped him the same round I dropped Magneto, honestly. But here, what ends up happening is I think he went with Mystique first, I'm pretty sure, tried to drop Bill, left him alive. I then went with Groot, I think. I Spendered Juggernaut, threw him at Mystique, and I want to say that just took him out. Um, Groot Spender was doing work for me today. I don't remember if that was all it took to take him out or if I needed like Juggernaut or Beta Ray to help or something like that, but that might have been it. Um, Move it up there. I end up taking out Mystique as well, I'm pretty sure, with Beta Ray, just like double tapping her, and she is dazed. So that's good. He does end up taking out Star-Lord, I want to say with Sabretooth. I think that was what he did instead of going with Juggernaut, who, again, I'm pretty sure survived at least one round, and then like Bill spendered him to finish him or something like that. Um, Actually, that very much tracked because I think what I ended up doing was I moved with Bill through Mystique at Juggernaut to finish her off, and then Spender Juggernaut. That sounds right to me. Um, and then yeah, Sabretooth killed Star-Lord and Nebula killed Sabretooth for that. So lots of violence, but at this point I'm feeling pretty confident. I've taken the point lead back this round, and his only model is Mystique. So at this point it's going to be very, very hard for him to catch up. And we go into the final round here, and we see that he does kill Beta Ray, so power to him there. But I just kind of hang back and let myself score the 2 points Groot was scoring me for the game. Very, very close game. I mean, you could see what we both had left on the table by the end of it was not much. And, like, had that come to a we need to attrition out the rest of this, I'm not 100% confident that I win that. Also worth acknowledging in one of the previous rounds, which I kind of forgot about, what happened to all of the terrain here was that Mystique just kept blowing stuff up on like two or three of my models at a time. Mystique did like 12 damage with blowing up cars. That was how Rocket went down the first time, now that I'm thinking about it, actually. Did a number on Groot, did a number on Nebula as well, I think. I think those three were the models that were hit by it both times. It was kind of insane. That turn that I said she did nothing earlier, that's what she did. She did a lot, actually. Um, but yeah, it was really good. So, but yeah, Shane's a fantastic opponent. I'm happy to finally take a game on him because we've played it many times and he has soundly destroyed me in the past. So I was happy to give him a good run here. But yeah, it was a good game. I definitely had some spikes that were really important to being able to win. Nebula being able to take out like 6 health on or 5 health on Magneto was kind of huge. You know, Juggernaut surviving for as long as he did was kind of obnoxious, but I also did a lot of damage to him very quickly before that point, and then he died very quickly on his flip side, so I can't really complain. That probably balanced out in the end. But yeah, it was a really good game, and I was so drained by the end of it because, as you can see, it went for a while. Technically, I think this was round 6 actually. So long game, and I was very exhausted going into the final one, but was getting that little bit of optimism there of like, wait a minute, is this going to be the 4-0? And well, I mean, we'll go ahead and jump into the new one. So my final game was up against Matt Smith, and he was playing some Spider Foes. I He had the choice, and he wasn't sure because he knew he was a lot less confident with his Avengers, but he didn't want to play Foes into Guardians because it's not their favorite matchup. He ends up going with the one that he's more comfortable with, so he goes with Foes. I of course go with Guardians then, and yeah, it was quite the game. We ended up playing on Demons and Hammers, so you know it's going to be a violent one. 18 threat, and yeah, we're going to go ahead and jump right into the pictures here. So this is the end of round one, and a lot of stuff had already happened round one. Oh, wow, I'm just trying to remember this all actually. So he had Prio this time, and Beta Ray, I did have eyes on the prize. I was running Beta Ray, Gamora, Nebula, who you can see actually fell off for base between rounds here, which was tragic. I actually still have to go fix her. Groot, Rocket, and Star-Lord. So the exact same list I was running the round before, and actually on the same table, so that's a thing. On his side, he was running Doc Ock, Mysterio, Electro. You can't see him behind the building, but he did have a Shocker and a Rhino. So round one, he wanted to deny me the safe grab, so he goes with Doc Ock, double moves, and picks up the objective here. Fair enough. I go with Star-Lord, double move, and pick up the objective here. I figured with cover, it's reasonable odds to not take damage from a Rhino attack, but I didn't have a winging it on him. I'd given one to Bill instead, so maybe not my finest moment. Rhino moves up, makes an attack, does the exact one damage he needs to be able to use Rhinobbery. So he does that. He throws Star-Lord down here, places the objective here, which he would later pick up with Shocker. Meanwhile, over here, I go with Beta Ray, and I summon the Storm on Mr. Ock. I end up doing, I think, 2 or 3 damage with that attack. He did have a wing it, so there was some nice boosts there, which was solid, but leaves him alive on, I think, 2 or 3. So actually, I might have done better than I thought with Beta Ray. Maybe it was 4. I know he wasn't doing amazing over here, so pretty happy with that as an initial strike. I think he like passed or he did his safer thing over here. So I go with Nebula and I finish off Doc Ock, but of course Nebula can't pick up the objective, so I just drop it about where the A is. Then he goes with Electro, he stands him on top of the car. I'm like, okay, this is great, but I can still stall over here. So I go with Gamora, who was actually deployed centrally, but she just double moves and picks up the thing over here. Great, loving it. He passes away again because I got both of these guys. So I'm like, all right, screw it. We'll double move Groot up to the middle. If he chooses to attack me, he's not going to be able to take the middle, so that's cool. He just double moves to contest the middle. Fair enough. I go with Rocket. Can't get the range 3, but I do get range 2 on Groot. So we're chilling there. And yeah, that's how that round ends. Not too exciting for the middle of the board, but both sides had some cool things going on. So we end up scoring even because I took one of his hammers and he took one of mine. Kind of funny that both of the hammers traded hands this game. Oh, and Rocket was holding my back one while Electro had his, and Electro is contesting that point right now. So lots of characters getting lit on fire as well, which is definitely going to be a big thing. All right, so a lot of stuff happened in this next round. So first of all, really worth acknowledging is that I gave winging it to Gamora, Beta Ray, and Nebula. And first activation of the round, he decides instead of staying there to fight them with Doc Ock, he double moves him over to his back point. So there was a big size 4 here, as you guys are or will probably remember from the previous image. That was a big problem all of a sudden for my 3 characters, 2 of which didn't have any form of flight that had my winging it's not my finest moment. Um, so at this point, I think I actually went with Groot, who, if I remember correctly, ends up dummying Mysterio. I make a 5 dicer ignoring his defenses. I do 3 damage, and then I do it again, ignoring his defenses with the power that I built, and do the 2 that I need to take him down, leaving him on 3 power, which felt really nice. But he is, of course, on fire, and Electro had something to say about that. So Electro ends up zapping him down and dazing him that round. Maybe with the help of a Shocker, and actually I think a Rhino attack might have been involved in that as well. He like moved, punched me, and then like stampeded away. Um, because at this point, Rhino didn't have a book yet at this point, I don't think. Shocker and Shocker, um, or it's not a book, it's a hammer. Shocker and someone else did. Oh, Electro did. Rocket ends up moving up, plinks some damage into Electro, gets shocked in return for it. Fair enough. Um, oh, he throws the building with Rhino as well. I think that actually might have been what actually took Groot down, was throwing the building at him. Or no, I moved Gamora around the edge after I did a lovable misfits this turn. That's what I did. I used lovable misfits to try and fix some of my positioning with these guys, and Gamora ends up getting, I think, basically nothing useful out of it. Oh yeah, she stuns herself and Nebula, and before Alk moved, he threw Bill away, so Bill didn't get stunned by it. But yeah, so Nebula and Gamora on Lovable Misfits both just got the stun thing, and then obviously they would have stunned each other, but they both rolled it anyways. Um, so Gamora ends up, I think, just moving and shaking it, and then he threw the size 4 at her because she had no power anymore. So she takes like 3 damage for that. She actually blocked pretty okay. So that was nice. Nebula, I think, just like climbed on the building before it got thrown and shook. Oh, I used Crew of the Milano to get rid of the stun because I also wanted to get rid of something on someone else. I don't remember what. Maybe a shock on Rocket like partway through his activation or something like that. Beta Ray got like an advance for what it's worth. I don't think anyone really got anything super meaningful from the lovable misfits, honestly. It was actually mostly negative. So that was a thing. But yeah, Nebula moves up here, and I think maybe popped a shot at Mysterio, who ends up being totally fine. Although she is shocked, so maybe I popped the shot at Electro and got zapped for it. Not 100% sure. Um, Bill ends up coming up after he's thrown the building, and I think does a spender on Mysterio, fails to get the shock, and actually I don't think does more than like maybe 1 damage. I didn't have the power to ignore his defenses, so I wasn't expecting anything too crazy, but it was a little disappointing I couldn't get the shock. Star-Lord doesn't do anything super meaningful. He, I think, like moved, hit and ran an attack into probably Mysterio, and then just chilled back here. And Shocker just double moved over to here. So overall, nothing too crazy exciting going on, but definitely some big things happening and some setup for the next round. Which, if we go ahead and take a look at here, okay, what happened here? Oh boy, I'm gonna think about this one. Okay, so starting things out, I'm pretty sure the first thing he did was double tap Groot and just take him off the board with Electro, which was rough, but not the end of the world. Then I'm pretty sure Gamora was the one who. No, Gamora wasn't the one who finished off Electra or Mysterio. That might have been Bill or Nebula, one of the two. Takes out Mysterio, which feels pretty good. Shocker comes in, and oh, this was also the card he played. Mysterio's card that's like your crits just don't exist. And Mysterio himself, I think, actually had a pretty solid turn, if I remember correctly, and he might have been the one who did at least one, if not both of these. So that was a thing. Um, Shocker ends up moving down, and I think is the one who dazed Rocket there. So that's definitely a relevant thing. And I think at that point, I was just kind of like, okay, every gun I have, let's fire on this man. So Star Lord laid into Shocker and Gamora. Spendered Shocker, dropped his objective here. Couldn't pick it up, but I wanted to kind of force him into a decision. Gamora was on 2 health at this point from something that he had done. I don't remember exactly what. So I moved her in here where she'd contest the point, which did put her within range 3 of Electro. So he could go for the trigger, and if he gets 2, it drops me, which is a big deal. But if he only gets 1, I survive and I pick up the hammer because I didn't have the power to pick up the second hammer. So he had a decision to make there. He decided not to do it. He didn't want to risk giving me more points faster, which was probably the right call. Um, and I think Doc might have like moved, thrown something and moved back, which again might contribute to this here. Rhino, I think similar, like he like moved in, punched something, and then stampeded away. At this point, I think he had managed to pick up a hammer on Rhino, so it made sense he was kind of playing that hit and run pattern. But at this point, I know Oh no, he probably didn't have a hammer on Rhino because I know Electro had one at this point. So, and I know Gamora had one, and there's one on the ground. So that's all the hammers accounted for. But yeah, I ended up taking out Shocker this round, which was nice, and um, yeah, that was a solid round. I lost a lot of things there, but I kind of gave almost as good as I got, so it was kind of okay. And I'd had a point lead before that, so it was mostly fine. I think at this point he actually tied the score, so it was definitely a little risky going into the next round, but I knew I had a good position to do a few things. So going into the next round, and this isn't the final round, we didn't take a picture after the last one, but a few things happened. First of all, I pretty sure I actually had priority this round, and I just dealt with Shocker very, very quickly. I want to say Gamora was the one to do it. She just like double tapped him, or no, I started with Rocket actually. And what I did was I spendered. Huh? How did I deal with Shocker? I don't remember how I dealt with Shocker. Um, he maybe he did have Cryo. Because Electro, I think then went first. Oh yeah, okay. So Electro like shot Bill. I moved him over here with the aggressive. Um, and then maybe shot Bill twice and just didn't kill him. That might track out. No shock, so I don't know. Maybe he. Oh yeah, yeah. He shot Bill twice, didn't kill him, didn't get the shock as far as we're aware. I'm pretty sure we forgot to look at the dice on the first one to see if he had a wild, but we're pretty sure he didn't. So didn't put a shock on Beta Ray. Then I went with Rocket and I did Galaxy's Greatest on Rocket, Beta Ray, and Star Lord to give them all the extra dice. Or no, it was Rocket, Beta Ray, and Nebula. Sorry. Um, Picks up the hammer that had been sitting there the round before and did a spender on Electro, which did some chip damage to Rhino and Ock. Rhino at this point had also done, I think, 2 damage to on a previous turn from someone else. Don't remember exactly what, probably just like a random shot from Rocket or Star Lord, but worth acknowledging. And then since I did the spender there, killed Electro with the spender. He'd already been on like half health, so I was pretty happy to take him out. And then I just did another spender into Shocker, which, if I remember correctly, actually did take him out, so that was nice. He takes out Gamora maybe with Doc. I think he like moved Doc up through someone or something at Gamora and then walked back. So that was a thing. I was kind of stuck down here at that point. Star-Lord didn't end up doing anything, or maybe he was the one who took out Shocker. Not 100% sure. Beta Ray, I had debated just like double walking up here, but at this point, he still had, I want to say Auk hadn't gone at that point, so I just like chilled with him down here, maybe helped contribute to Shocker. Nebula, he threw away with Auk, so I don't remember how he got Gamora. Maybe that was Shocker. Um, but um, yeah, Auk threw Nebula away, so she had been like down here somewhere. So she moved up to try and get within range, but she ended up needing to double move and wasn't able to get a line on anybody. So was what it was. But at this point, after Electro dropped, he dropped 2 hammers, and Rhino had picked up both of them and was just kind of chilling on 3 hammers at this top corner. So I needed to stop Rhino right away because at this point, this was the round he tied me. We were tied at like 14 or 13, I think. And he was scoring one more than me because of those hammers. So I needed something big the final round, and I got it. He had priority, and I think he went with Electro first. I want to say, double tapped Nebula, left her alive on like 1 or 2 health and not shocked. And she spendered Rhino and took him right out, which was huge. She had another action. We didn't even bother playing it out because at that point we just talked through the rest of the game. I spread out his hammers so he couldn't pick up all 3 on 1 character. He goes with Auk. He went and picked up one up here, so I wouldn't be able to punish him for it. I picked up the other 2 with Nebula and Beta Ray, who also went and stood on his point and threw Electro away. So that ended up scoring me pretty much everything on the board except the hammer Auk was holding, which was a ton of points, ending out the game and giving me my first ever 4-0, which felt really good. Matt's a great opponent. He knows what he's doing with Spider Foes. He's been playing them for a long time, so this was definitely a hard fought game, and I definitely was another one of those ones where a few really nice dice spikes here were big deal for this game. Things like being able to take out Awk round one was really nice. Nebula finishing off Rhino. I did have another attack to do it if I needed it, but I didn't want to risk it if I didn't have to. And yeah, just a few things like that were really really nice. But yeah, it was definitely a good game, and it was a nice note to end on because it was it wasn't like the final game was a steamroll either way, so that was really really nice. But yeah, so that brings us to the overall here. So 4-0, which I'm feeling very, very good about. I haven't gotten a 4-0 before, so very, very happy to finally have one of those. It was unfortunately not with my Avengers. I always wanted the first time I do it to be with my Avengers list, but I don't feel like the Avengers that I was trying to run work very very well in the current meta. I've been very down on them lately, and they just haven't been doing their thing. So it is what it is. I'm going to branch out. I'm going to play some other things. I'm going to play around a lot with Guardians, I think, because I am really enjoying them. They're a lot of fun. They're not as complicated or high skill as my old team was. I'm definitely losing some of that, so I don't think I'm going to be able to only play Guardians. I'm going to have to switch between them and some other things. But I do think Guardians with some splashes can be really, really interesting and a lot of fun. So I will be playing around with them a fair bit, and maybe some others. I might play around a little bit more with Cabal, and there's a few others I've been looking at, just maybe being like, I'll bring them to one or two tournaments. So we're going to play around, we're going to switch things up a little bit, and just kind of the series is going to transition from trying to hone my list and my playstyle and get better with that to kind of just being trying to get better at the game as a whole, playing different aspects of it, playing different sides of the game, and seeing what other things I like other than my Avengers list. Because like I said, I just don't really feel like the things I was doing with my Avengers list feel very viable these days. And I don't entirely know what it is, whether it's like the lethality of the game feels like it's a little bit higher, or other people's defensive tech feels like it's better than mine now, which feels weird to say because I still had really, really solid defensive tech. But it just hasn't been doing it for me lately. So switching away from that a little bit, but this was a really, really fun event. I was definitely running some very, very competitive choices for this one. I think Cabal is probably one of, if not the best villain faction in the game right now, and Guardians is definitely very, very high up there for hero factions. So strong, strong list here. Definitely can't kind of neglect the fact that I was running two incredibly good affiliations in a list that's fairly restrictive, or in a tournament that's fairly restrictive. So I definitely was giving myself a bit of an advantage there. But still, I will certainly take it. They were still very hard fought games, and all my opponents did very, very well. I don't think any of the games that I played today I kind of consider, you know, easier games or anything like that. I right from the start getting paired into Trevor Daredevil as he is on here. Um, he's a great player, and I was immediately like, okay, we're starting things out with a good player, and we're going into Rob, we're going into Shane, and we're going into Matt, and it's like all of these players really really good players. So tons of respect to them. They did great, and yeah, it was a good time overall. I really enjoyed it. This was a really, really fun event. I love when they do the heroes and villains thing. A lot of fun. So definitely looking forward to the next time they do one of these. But I do think their next event will be a regular event. So looking forward to it. It's going to be a good time. But that is going to wrap it for this character spotlight. My voice is absolutely dead between the day of the tournament and now this video. So I'm gonna call it here. But I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please do drop a like down below. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. If you guys have any thoughts on the roster I was running, which I mean, it's kind of hard to have thoughts on the Guardian side of it, at least because I was very, very restricted. But if you have any thoughts on any of the games, anything you notice I might have been able to do better, definitely let me know. Curious to hear what you guys think. But yeah, that's going to do it for this one. So until next time, have a great day, everybody. Peace.